Hi, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White. I'm the founder and CEO of the Bobby White Foundation, and I'm here with, I got two guests. Actually, we got two people here today.
Actually, I have Bonnie Snyder, co-host, but we have, isn't that Jack?
I have no idea.
Forget what his name is, we just decided we needed a little company on the set today, so
Yeah,
I bought a friend. But what's interesting with bringing it's a guy friend too. Yeah.
Oh, he's cute.
He's cute. He is cute.
I'm not a scary Halloween person at all, but he's cute.
Yeah, I guess I would say define what you mean by scary Halloween.
I just don't like anything scary.
Oh.
I like cute Halloween.
Oh, see, no,
I'm not. Yeah, okay. Just before we started here, our producer and Bonnie were talking about going to, what is it?
Halloween Horror Nights.
Horror Nights over in Orlando. There is no way, not for me. I don't even like haunted houses.
Oh, see me, I'm just the I mean, the cutesy, scary stuff is okay, but no, I'm movie genres. Oh, give me horror.
No.
Give me. I think for me, where I like, the scary, I'm going to use the word loosely. Tolerate scary stuff. I don't scare easy.
Yeah.
And so I find even like the scary horror, macabre kind of stuff amusing more so. If you get me, it's almost like, that was good, you got me. But usually family members and relatives try to startle me and whatnot. I think Patrick almost got me once, and I was like, you almost got me.
There was a scary show that Bobby used to like. I'm thinking Tales of the Crypt, but I don't think that's it. I don't remember what it was. And sometimes I think of it, and sometimes I don't. But we started watching it when we lived in Fort Lauderdale, and then and I watched a couple of the shows with him. That's when we decided we needed two TVs, and then we made a trip cross country. We had come up here to his brother's wedding, and then we drove across country to my grandma's in Oregon, and we stopped in this place in, I think it was in Utah, and it was this little dingy motel, and there was nothing around, nothing. And so we go in and get ready for the night, and he turns on that show. And I made him put a chair underneath the door. And I'm like, I can't believe we're watching this here in the middle of nowhere. You know what could happen to us and nobody would know. And after that, I would never watch another one with him. I just couldn't do it.
So if it was Tales from the Crypt, I mean, I have been on, I think 7 seasons. So I have all 7 seasons on DVD. And, I found it funny, Devin, let's be Nana. Can we watch Tales? I was like, sure. So we're sitting there watching Tales, Tales from the Crypt, like back when he was little. To me, I don't see Tales from the Crypt as that really scary, kind of thing. That's a little campy. However, I can see how some people are like, oh, that's a little,
Yeah, I'm just not a scary show person at all. Yeah, that's after that we always had more than one TV, because then he could watch the scary stuff and I could go in the other room, and I prefer the Hallmark kind, But anyways, so
you can tell we're in a little bit of a Halloween theme, our feel
well, it's
here.
holiday kind of weekend, sort of, and so it's
Monday's like
Yeah. Well, where I live, and it's probably different in your neighborhood because you have more of a neighborhood. Like, where I live, we don't get any trick-or-treaters.
I live in a neighborhood and I don't get trick-or-treaters.
Really?
I think, I think, part of it, I want to say, is obviously changed, with COVID and whatnot. But I think last year before last, in the midst of COVID, we were wondering if people were even going to go out, trick or treating, out of like onesies or twosies, and after a while, it came from, okay, so all of this candy that I got, because I don't particularly care for sweets. Occasional peanut butter cup or something like that. But no, I'm not a candy. I'm not a fan of candy, to be honest with you. It got to the point where kids, would come over, and I was like, okay, it's been half an hour since I've seen the last kids. I've been like, there you go, and these kids are like, wow, go to that house. She gives you fistfuls. I'm like, I'm giving you fistfuls because I don't want to be. I don't want
to be stuck with all that candy.
Well, yeah, I could see myself like, in Halloween next year. That's part of the candy stash that I bought last year. I'm not giving out year-long candy. I mean, good thing for me though, I am able to, some of the candy, I'm able to take it and give it to the people that I work with, the kiddos that I work with. But yeah, no, we don't. It's surprising. I was surprised that we don't get a lot of kids.
Yeah, I'm surprised with the neighborhood you live in. Our neighborhood, and I've seen it. There's this new thing, which I think is really cool, and I want to do it a little bit more next year. Is they have this thing where they called you make up like a Halloween basket, and you give it. You go like anonymously and give it to a neighbor or a friend, and they called it you've been booed. And there's like little directions in there so that you keep one is a sign that said I've been booed, so that you don't get booed again. And then the other one tells you how to what to do. And so our neighbors across the street, they have this little girl, Gabriella. She is just so adorable. And so somebody booed them, and her mom didn't really kind of know what she wanted to do or anything, so she calls me up. And this isn't the way it's supposed to go, but this is the way we did it anyways. And she says, Tammy, have you been booed yet? And I'm like, no. So I was working in the studio, and she texted me and she goes, are you home? And I'm like, yeah, I'm working in the studio. And she said, okay. And so little Gabriella, I think she's like 2 years old, and her mom and her grandma and her great-grandma came over and brought me this really cute basket. I have it on the gallery Facebook page, picture of it. And so then I took pieces out of that and did it again for somebody else. And so I'm going to do it next year, I think, for not just friends or neighbors, but extend it to the businesses that I work with. I just think that's a fun Halloween for me, not the scary stuff.
Gotcha.
But anyways, so after Halloween, we have a couple things that are coming up in November. We have the NOP Vigil on November 17th. November 17th. And that's at Pasco Hernando Community College.
State College.
It's been a couple of years and you still get that messed up.
State College, yeah, from 5 to 8. It is in person. So I think, there for a while, someone said we kicked around the idea of doing hybrid. But it was like, no, everybody was.
Yeah, I think everybody.
And I just found out with with NOPE, the keynote speaker is going to be Randy Grimes.
Yeah, Rob, I think I did. One of the ones that I sent you, the flyer for NOPE, have that on there. Anyway, there.
There it is.
That's
yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
But yeah, no, we are excited. Yeah, what it is the college supports a lot of what ASAP does. And this year, they had said, oh, hey, by the way, if you want a national speaker or somebody who's nationally known as your keynote, and and they have to be paid for, we will pay the speaker's fee. And of course, we're like,
oh, yeah.
Really? You'll do that for us? And they did. I actually got to see Randy speak at an event. I was doing a drug summit, and he was the keynote speaker there. And I mean, just dynamics was, not this year's drug summit, last year's dynamic speaker. I really enjoyed his talk. And so when the talk was over, I went over and talked to him for a little bit. Very nice, easy to talk to kind of guy. So I was excited to see that we were able to get him for the vigil.
Now, are they having vendor tables?
Yes.
And stuff? Because we were at the one when they had it at Calvary Church, I think. Was it Calvary Church? No, maybe it was at the college.
Well, I mean,
remember
you
where
may
it
have
was.
had, there may have been an event at Calvary Church that,
I'm trying to remember. I can picture our setup, but I don't remember where we were.
note for the last, let's say, I've been on my team for 8 years.
It wasn't the last 2 years. It was before that.
We've always done it at the college.
Was it at the college?
Yeah, the college has always given us, well, no, let me take that back. There was, I want to say, you're probably thinking of the Verizon Center.
That could be it,
We did it
yeah.
at Verizon,
Okay.
The Verizon
That's
Center one
what it
year.
was, yeah.
And then
Okay.
after that, the
Yeah.
next year after Verizon, the association with the college, Dr. Williams, happened. And we get the college. I think Verizon charged us.
Sure, we
the college
get
does not.
all the stuff so the foundation can have a table there. What do we?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will talk to, I'm on the planning committee, I've been on the planning committee. I will let you know, I'm sure that you should be able to set up
Yeah.
a table.
Okay. Yeah, we want to be there again this year now that we get to be in person. Also, before that, November 8th coming up is the postponed event for the Out of the Darkness Walk for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. That's November 8th at Sims Park in Newport Richey. You can go onto their website and still sign up, come down. We're going to have a table there. I'm going to be speaking, really short, but speaking. And then I think it's the 17th is a Thursday, 18th. I think it's November 19th is Suicide Loss Survivors Day. And you can also go on the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's Facebook page and find out in your community if and where they're going to be holding an event that day. In Tampa Bay, it's in Pinellas County somewhere. By next week, I'll have that exact information for the show next week and on our pages, so that if you want to attend that, it's only it's like 3 hours or something like that.
Yeah, and I know, unfortunately, the day that this show airs, we would have done the take back already. Take back is actually tomorrow.
Right.
So it's Friday, guys. We tape on Fridays and shows on Saturdays. But the take back is tomorrow at those 2 locations. I'll be doing that.
And that's for the fall take back, and then you guys do it,
They do it again in
in
April.
in the springtime.
Yeah,
So
October and April.
cool. So those are what's coming up. Oh, and then I have a meeting Monday with the ladies from Our Lady Queen of Peace for the presentation that I'm going to be giving at their church. They're reaching out to all the churches in the community, all denominations and everything, and it's for the entire public. It's just not for the religious communities. But we're meeting on Monday to finalize some stuff with that. Hopefully have some flyers by the time the show airs next week. But all that stuff is up and coming, so we'll keep you kind of apprised from that. I think it's a Thursday night around 6:30 or something like that. So it's a busy time of year. Even with the holidays, things still keep going. I wanted to mention one thing. I'm a member of Rotary, Spring Hill Central. I've been a member of a couple other ones here also. I was a Port Richey Rotarian and a Rotary Club of Newport Richey Sunset. Now I'm with Spring Hill Central. But all the Rotaries, we get this Rotary Magazine, and this just came, so I didn't have a lot of time to get the information for the show, but maybe by tomorrow night I can have the information on the Facebook page. But the Rotary Club of Napa there's an article in here about one of their Rotarians, and he is a Iraq veteran. Now, I think most of the Rotary clubs, they choose a cause or area that they support. That's what their main support is, besides the goal of Rotary overall. And theirs is to support veterans. And there's a really great article in here, and I'll put the links up. His name is Zach Skiles, and he's one of their Rotarians, and they've raised a lot of money for veterans. There is a thing in here that just, and you know it in your head, but you just really don't think about it. It's hard to think about unless you see it visually. It says here, more than 30,000 people who served in wars soon after the 2001 terrorist attack have died by suicide. And it's, I mean, we hear it all the time. Every day, 22 veterans a day die by suicide. And it's, I don't know, I mean, it's not saying that you get numb to it, but when you read and you see something like this again, it's like, oh my gosh, And I know, I don't know the person, but I know of a veteran who took his life just a few weeks ago in South Florida. And I was contacted by somebody up here who knew us. But this is a great article, and there's another one in here that is kind of tied to the article, but I'll see if I can figure out how I can get links to this article on our page. Because I was just, I'm really happy to see a Rotary Club take on that cause. I had spoke at the Rotary Club of Palm Harbor, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and they sponsored Art for Hope. So some of these Rotary clubs that's going to be what their cause is for the next couple of years for their president. Because that president, her best friend lost her 16-year-old son a year ago. So it doesn't discriminate. We keep saying that.
Well, for me, when we're discussing, loss among veterans and whatnot, or issues that impact the veteran population, for me, I take it, as a vet, I take it personal. And I remember, this is going back several years ago, going to an event where there's a gentleman out in Dade City who he has a property as a farm. It looks like a farm that is solely for veterans to go out and just if they need services, they get services. And everything is paid for. Then they have horses and chickens and cows and whatnot. Basically, just open their home up to folks who can come and just recenter themselves. But yeah, I applaud anybody who has either the focus or is able to provide services to veterans over and above what we get from the VA. And and I think I've said this a billion times. I'm not knocking the VA. I mean, the care. I am blessed with the care that I get. I also know that the VA, like other organizations, are extremely short-staffed and overrun with the number of people who need assistance. And when you have to go on a waiting list to see someone, I mean, the crisis line is amazing. I have no problem self-disclosing. I've used that line a couple of times, and it's like, okay, That's what I needed. Thank you very much. Thank you for hearing me out. I just needed somebody to, quote unquote, talk me off the ledge. But there are times where, getting recurring care, is a challenge because there's just not enough resources.
I totally get it. My first husband was a Vietnam veteran, and he was injured in Vietnam. He stepped on a landmine. He had shrapnel in his legs. And I remember what he went through. It's much different today than it was back then in the early 80s when we were together. He had a hard time getting care and treatment. And it actually took the governor of our state at the time to get him into the VA back then. And, Vietnam veterans weren't treated very well. And even when he died, when I went to pick up his belongings from the sheriff's department, the officer threw a manila envelope across the table at me. And, it's just like, I remember what he went through, and, he wasn't there very long, but the impact of those months that he spent there and being injured was so traumatic for him. And then to come back and get killed here by a careless driver. But so yeah, I'm really I was glad when I saw that and saw that article. So I'll get that information up on everything, so people can see it. Good things. Rotary does really great things all around the world. So I'm happy to be a part of that again. So we were talking with the holidays that are coming up. Monday is Halloween.
Monday is Halloween.
But then the Saturday before Thanksgiving, like I said, is Suicide Loss Survivors Day, which is always the Saturday before Thanksgiving. And then a few days before that is Bobby's birthday. So this kind of is this. I'm trying this year for it to not be such a somber time. For me, I did pretty good for our anniversary. Actually, I think I did. I should pat myself on the back even better than that. I did very well for our anniversary in August. So I'm trying to keep that a little bit moving forward for the rest of this year. Typically, this time of year has been very, very hard for me. This is the time of year that several years ago, probably 3 years ago, went through my first bout of real depression. And I do not like that. So we were talking about what we were going to do. We finished our last book that we've been doing all year. And, that book is still available. It's available through our website. So we were kind of talking about, that's still available. You can get the book. You can even still go through it with us with all of our shows on demand. So, and if you want to contact us, about any questions or anything, please do. It's up there somewhere. I don't know if that's the current book. The next, I got to change that. But anyways, it's available. You can get it through the links there. So, Bonnie thought that we would have our next book by our favorite grief expert, Dr. Alan Wolfelt, and it is Healing Your Holiday Grief.
What I was thinking about with, our next, it's funny how we operate here. It is. I got this text message from Tammy. So, what do you think our next book should be? And, I was like, this is interesting. But in all seriousness, the thought process became, we are coming up on the holidays. Halloween is Monday, and then you've got Thanksgiving, and then you've got Christmas, and then you've got New Year's, and then on the follow that up with Valentine's Day, and then not that spring is a holiday per se, but specifically when I think of the Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's holidays, and people who are loss survivors, for some, this is the toughest time of the year for them. So I was really, not surprised on one hand. However, really excited to see that Dr. Wolfelt had authored a book, that talks about healing your holiday grief. And so basically what it is it says 100 practical ideas for blending mourning and celebration during the holiday season. It's important when we're looking at the holidays, to understand that there are going to be competing emotions that go on. You have the negative emotions, as it relates to, the loss and the grief and, the longing and, all of the, why did this happen to me kind of thing. But then you couple this with the, if I think of, I'm going to use Christmas, just for example, for, those who celebrate Christmas in this manner, the holiday cheer, and, it's all about gift giving, and, everybody's happy, and, let's, drink some spiced cider and eggnog, and, or Thanksgiving, everybody's sitting around the table giving thanks for everything that day. And loss survivors are like, and what do I have to be thankful for?
Right.
Like, I'm thankful for the fact that there's an empty chair at the table. So again, it's important to, understand that it's, as we say all the time, it's okay to grieve, it's okay to have those feelings. At the same time, continue allowing yourself to live. And so what I liked what he did is made, we call them 100 little chapters in here, they're really not chapters. But 100 little ideas, I just get little ideas, 100 ideas in here, and he captions each one. And so we're going to try and go through a few and kind of set a mini goal for ourselves. We'll see if we do it. Yeah. We're not going to tell you what the goal is. That way, if we don't do it, we can say, this is where we're stopping. Anyway, so the first one he has, it says, be compassionate with yourself. And under it, he has some bullet points that says, don't judge yourself or set expectations too high. Be kind to yourself. And I think that's a really good, spot on suggestion, because I think sometimes we do set the bar too high. I'm not going to cry. Well, that's cry if you want to, or. Sometimes we think this is a low bar. I'm not gonna go to, I'm only gonna go to one party. I'm not gonna go to one, I'm not gonna go to anybody's house because I don't want to be around anybody and be, a Debbie Downer, where it's like, no, some people are like, no, come out and hang out with us. I hate the word, I'm gonna jokingly use the phrase, misery likes company. Mm-hmm. But I know that has a negative connotation to it. But I know when I'm feeling down, there are times that I'd rather be around people that, if for a little bit, either helps me take my mind off of stuff, or is able to, because they're feeling it with me, I don't feel it as much.
Well, I've had that too. I mean, sometimes if I'm feeling down and there's an event to go to, and I really don't feel like going to it, I kind of push myself to go, because once really I get there, mm-hmm. I do feel better, because right. Like I said, it kind of takes your mind off it for a little while. You're around people that are a little bit more joyful, mm-hmm. and that does help. I
like the other one he has in here where he goes, let your holiday grief be what it is, and let yourself, your new grieving self, be who you are. And, again, oftentimes with, negative emotions, we put on the brave face, put on the happy face, don't let people see that there's something going on. And I'm like,
I can't do that.
I have no problem, and this is something that, in my daily work, when I'm teaching, emotional, self-regulation and whatnot, that I look at people as like, it's okay to look at somebody and say, I'm in my feelings right now. I need a minute. Or, I'm in my feelings right now, and, I need you here for comfort. But like I said, and finding the balance between the two, because there are some times where I'm like, give me a minute. I need to go in the other room right now and process what I'm feeling. Or it's like, okay, you know what? I need a minute, but I need you to share this minute with me.
Right. Yeah, I like at the bottom of each of these little mini chapters. I like what he does here. It's
Carpe diem.
Carpe diem, isn't it? Seize the day. Is that what that
think
means?
so,
I think
yeah.
that's what it means. He said, give yourself a rest break today. Lay your body down for at least 20 minutes during the afternoon and relax your muscles. Sleep if sleep comes.
I like that one. I'm not a nap person. I've not been a nap person for a while, but I really love this one because I have, over the years, and that was hard for me, but over the years I have found myself just able to go home, take my shoes off. Well, I take my shoes off anyway because I'm a no-shoes house. But anyway, a little rabbit hole there. But yeah, I walk in the house, take my shoes off, and then just go into my bedroom or even, my living room couch and just stretch out and just allow myself to have a moment or two. And there have been, a time or two that I'm going to take a moment. And next thing I look at the clock, and I was like, that moment has turned into a couple of hours. It's equally important that you allow yourself, like he says, sleep if sleep comes. In other words, let it happen.
If you're going to do it, your body's going to do it. Your body's going to tell you what you need. And two, remember when we went to see Dr. Wolfelt, he said napping is good. Remember.
But the other thing too is be cautious not to let yourself feel guilty after the nap.
Right.
Because I would, I've got a bunch of things I need to complete. But you know what?
It'll be there when you wake up.
Well,
when you get back to
it's also true. And I think of like that time span between, you get home from work and then you have home stuff. And it's like, I look at, okay, if home responsibilities, I have work responsibilities. Unless I've done all the work stuff and whatnot, I go home, it's like, this has been a particularly long day, let me just take a moment. And then I either beat myself up or would feel guilty. Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to rest for 2 hours. I meant to get some stuff done. And then it's like, it's okay, you know what? It'll still be there, or, there's always tomorrow.
Right.
So. All right, number 2. He says,
savor the moment. When you think about holiday season as this vast period of celebration from Thanksgiving to New Year's, it can definitely seem overwhelming, especially when you're in mourning.
Yes. And, he follows that with the last one that says, the holiday season, take what you need from the holidays moment by moment and discard the rest. I love that. I absolutely love that. Again, when I think of, say, Thanksgiving, there's a ritual in my house. I cook the entire meal. And I know we've talked about this over and over and over again. And it's gotten, easier over the last couple of years to be able to, all right, let's start on these eggs. Pat was the deviled eggs. I'm about to start on these eggs. And, but I think for me, what made that transition easy, because there were years, when he was still here, that, he'd come in the kitchen, and I'm like, you gonna make the egg? No, you do them, and he'd like either stand over my, shoulder and say, did you add this or did you put this in? Or he'd, okay, I approve, and walk off. So I'm still like, I hope I got this right for you. I was like, I hope I did this right. Or, dude, this is on, And again, when we're talking about, take what you need from the holidays. And like, for me, it is having that ability again, if I use Thanksgiving to, talk, I have a conversation with him. No, I'm not crazy.
Hey, I talk to Bobby all the time.
Right, but yeah, like I have a conversation with him as I'm cooking, to where it's like, for me, it is embracing the memory, and acknowledging you're gone, but you're not forgotten, or you're not physically here, but you're not forgotten. Because he's still roaming around my house.
Yeah, our Thanksgivings, they used to be always at my mother and father-in-law's, and then when they passed, my sister-in-law, one of my sister-in-laws would have Thanksgiving. And after my father-in-law passed, Bobby always did the turkey. Well, then now with Bobby gone, our Thanksgivings have been different every single year. One year was a couple years was at one of my nieces, and then one year my sister-in-law invited me down to her in-laws' family. Down in Seminole, they have this ginormous family, and they're just the coolest, nicest people. And so a couple of weeks ago, she was talking to me, and because the matriarch, Sheila, the mom, she passed away this year, and it's a huge family. I mean, she had 8 or 10 kids, and a slew of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And so she said that they're gonna all, the ones that are here, do Thanksgiving again. And she invited me, to maybe come down if that's what they were going to do. And I said, I'd love to do that, because Sheila was always so open and welcoming, to everybody. When Bobby passed away, she was always just so sweet. And they've, sometimes, when they can, when things work out, include me for Thanksgiving, and I really appreciate that. So my Thanksgivings every year have been different. One year I did it all by myself, and I made a full Thanksgiving dinner, and not with a huge turkey. I just used the turkey breast. But when we do have it, if we have it with family, or even without family, because I did it for myself, is I make Bobby's dressing or stuffing or whatever you want to call it. And I've done that every year since he has passed away, whether it's just me or if it's with family.
Right. So in his Carpe Diem, for that chapter, it says, right now, turn off your mind and attend to the moment. Pay attention to what you are hearing, tasting, smelling, seeing, and feeling on your skin. Savor the sensations of life. I mean, that is one of the cornerstones of mindfulness. And, I love, we're in what's called Red Ribbon Week right now. I was in an elementary school earlier in the week where we were teaching the students mindfulness. Things you can do to just savor the moment, to be present right then. And, one of them that we did was, what do we call it? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can feel, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and then 1 thing that you can taste. And, it's a good, centering activity when you are, feeling overwhelmed, or, you're experiencing a lot of negative emotions, or even when you just, need time to relax. And, it's something that you can do regardless to where you are. You can imagine when I was in with these little, they were elementary kids, and I want to say the younger ones, first or second graders, tell me something that you can smell. And I was like, I just asked an elementary age, boy that question, and you can imagine what came out of his mouth.
Well, and it kind of goes with our last chapter of our last book, The Freedom to Live. That was the last chapter. So, and number 3 is don't
catastrophize.
I knew that wasn't going to come off my tongue at all. And I knew what it was. It wasn't coming out. I highlighted this part of this one, and we're going through each of these little things and highlighting some of the bullet points. There's more bullet points in each one of these
Right.
than what we're talking about, so be sure you get the book so you can go through it too with us. But be open to the possibility of happiness during the holidays. If and when you feel glimpses of happiness, do so without guilt. You are still alive, and finding happiness means you are carrying on with your life's purpose.
Yeah, I might tell you, read that one again. But no, seriously, he nails it with that one, because and even this goes, in my opinion, beyond the holidays, because
Oh, yeah.
all too often, you're doing, you go on vacation, you're hanging out with friends, you're doing stuff around the house, and you're in this really like upbeat, positive mood, and then you happen to like, oh, wait a minute.
Something happens, and you're like,
I'm
oh,
not supposed
right.
to, I'm not supposed to be, or it's disrespectful, or not completely honoring the person who you've left, or that's left, because you're happy. I find with this one where it's like, I was thinking about this myself.
This is something I could read every day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in the early days, I used to walk through the living room every day, and I would look up, hey, son, I miss you, and go. But then I find myself sometimes, here of late, it'll be like a week will go by, and I was like, I didn't look up and say, hey, son, what's up? And I'm like, does that mean that I think of him less? No, he's in my head all the time. I either say or hear his name in my head all the time. But I also think of too, like when he was here, things that he would say to friends and family members who were in this grieving process. Those cliche things that were like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. However, this, you're going to be okay. They wouldn't want you to be, they wouldn't want you to be sad. Suck it up and drive on. They're in a better place. Say these, to any, I tend not to use them anymore, because of my own feelings about them. But yeah, it's okay to be happy without feeling guilty.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Sometimes it's hard to get there, but I think like for me, that part is getting a little bit better. Then hopefully the happiness comes a lot more and stays longer than the guilt or not feeling happy.
I like this one where this next one says survive. And in it, when he says, there, two that I looked at, or that I'm like, I like these, where it says these normal feelings are nature's way of temporarily protecting you from the full reality of the death. They help you insulate you psychologically. They will help you. Okay, hang on, let me start again. They help insulate you psychologically until you are more able to tolerate what you don't want to believe. But then he also follows that up with, as disbelief wanes, pain wanes. Grief usually hurts more before it hurts less. And, I love where he talks about, the fact that our feelings are a way to have us process, it's a psychological thing about us. Again, say it all the time. Let yourself have the feelings. Let yourself have the feelings. They're normal. You're supposed to be feeling these things. Don't let anybody, you shouldn't be so sad. You're right, I shouldn't, but I'm gonna.
But that's
well,
reality.
Yeah, it's like,
that's the reality of it.
Exactly. So, but his little tidbit on the bottom. Allow yourself to be in survival mode this holiday if that's where you find yourself feeling. Indulge your survival instincts. Do what they tell you to do and let the rest slide. So, God, I love this man. He's just, I mean, he's on, this is why I think he's so popular and so respected. His comments and points are spot on.
Okay, so number 5 is keep what matters. Because you're in mourning this year, you may feel like not doing the holidays at all. That's an understandable thought. But your family's holiday traditions are an important part of your shared history as well as your continuing lives. You may find yourself wanting to celebrate as you always have for memory's sake. Our first Christmas, I thought was going to be much harder, but fortunately our family situation kind of made it a little bit easier. Because normally we have Christmas Eve, like we used to have it at my mother-in-law's house. And then my nephew and his family took it over. Well, that year they were moving. They were moving during Christmas. And so we weren't going to have Christmas Eve. And I was like, no, we have to have Christmas Eve. So we had Christmas Eve that year at my house.
Gotcha.
Because I just couldn't not have it. Christmas Day happens to be my mother-in-law's birthday. And probably the last 5 years Bobby was alive, and that was since when his mother passed away, Christmas, he was not good. And it was like almost every year he didn't like Christmas even that much more. The last Christmas he was alive, he didn't even come to Christmas Eve with the family.
Right.
And so now we're back, now that right after the kids got settled, so now we're back. We have Christmas Eve every year at my nephew's house. And I kind of try and now go kind of back and forth between my mom out in Washington. She has Christmas Eve for the family out there, but with COVID I haven't been able to go back for a couple of years. I won't be going back this year, but we still have Christmas Eve at my nephew's house for our family. But yeah, that first year I didn't know what I was going to do. And having it at my house that year, it wasn't bad at all. I was really glad that we did that.
And he has here, make a list of your holiday traditions and circle those that you think are most essential. And again, it's a way of, as he says here, you're continuing to celebrate part of your family's history, but also, the continuing acknowledgement that you're still here, you're still alive, you still have life left in you, even when you think, hey, my heart's just been ripped out. I'm still here, though. I still have, responsibilities, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, and you don't want to overwhelm yourself with taking on too much of the holiday traditions.
Right. So this next one, he says, find your grief's fingerprint. Because your grief is unique. It is a one-of-a-kind product of a unique relationship and love you shared with the person who died. And he follows that with, just as the lines and whorls of your fingertip are like no one else's, your grief will be unlike anyone else's. I don't care how many times, let me rephrase that. I like that we say, I understand. There's a difference between I understand what you're going through, and believe it or not, I'm going to use this here, I know what you're going through. And although I understand that, both I understand and I know are, they can go hand in hand. I understand what you're going through a lot easier than I know, because your understanding is you have a concept, you have been there before, you know what it felt like for you, therefore it's possible that what I felt or am feeling, you're feeling the same thing. So you can, contextualize it. You don't know what I'm feeling just because we might say, I'm with you. And, I had a dear friend of mine, I ran into her yesterday, I was out shopping, and I ran into her, and, she looked at me, she goes, I'm a mess right now. What happened? She had talked to her sister, say like at 10 o'clock, and at 10:30, her sister was gone.
Oh my gosh.
She was going in for a procedure, she's supposed to have an operation. She went in for like some pre-op stuff. And it's like, oh, how's the pre-op stuff going? It's fine. And then she tried to call her back, didn't get an answer. Someone else tried to call her, didn't get an answer. And someone went to the house and she was gone just that quickly.
Oh
She goes,
my
I'm a
God.
mess. And and as I'm looking at her, all I could, what I said to her is like, let me give you a hug. And, she's, this type of, we're really, really good friends, love her dearly. So I gave her a hug and I looked at her and I said, I'm not going to say those things to you that people typically say when you lose somebody. And I said, because I, think about how I reacted, to them. And, she looked back to me and she goes, thank you. Because she goes, I don't want to hear that. That's not what I wanted to hear either. All I needed was a hug.
Right.
And, I like where, he says, your grief is unique, for others. Now, somebody else who might have overheard this, I don't want to hear you say, say they're in a better place. What? I don't want to hear that. Would look and say, wow, that was really rude of you to say it like that. When it's like, no, you need to understand. We all process different, whether we're on the person who's dealing with the grief, and I would expand this to the person who's responding to or trying to be there as support.
Accept your unique thoughts and feelings this holiday season. Find ways to mourn that work for you. When others judge your grief, don't take it to heart.
Yes, exactly. And then he goes, what your grief is telling you to do or not do this moment, honor its voice.
That's
so
really
do what it's telling you to do.
So, attend to your spirit. Above all, mourning is a spiritual journey of the heart and soul, and the holidays are a spiritual time of year. Together, the two demand your spiritual time and attention. If you have faith or spirituality, express it in ways that seem appropriate to you.
Precisely. And he, again, it's not about, however, like I said, however you celebrate the holidays, whatever spirituality means to you. And then he says, where do you feel the most spiritually connected to the person who died? Go there today and feel her presence. And then the last one we'll get to today is understanding the difference between grief and mourning. It says, grief is the constellation of internal thoughts and feelings we have when someone loved dies. Mourning is the outward expression of grief. When we went to his seminar and he said that, I was like, I had one of those
Aha moment, sort
no,
of.
for me it wasn't an aha moment. It was a what?
No, mine was like, wow, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. There was something else. I was like, oh, let me keep it, G-rated here. But I was.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But it was like, what? And it was one of those like revelation. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that he just, he just went there. Like I don't think I ever separated the two before. And his, carpe diem for this one is, how does your grief feel now? Mourn your grief by, okay, I can take my glasses off. Mourn your grief by telling someone you trust about your thoughts and feelings right now. And I love the idea of, how he continues to say, maintain that support system, keep somebody I know who my go-to people are, when I'm having a moment. Likewise, I like being that go-to people person for other ones. And speaking of go-tos, nice segue to here's the numbers.
Yes, we have the prevention lifelines. Go back to that. Except you don't use the one that I send you. You use the one you have on file, but that's okay. Because the text, the 988 number is a call or text number. And since that's been released since July, there has been an overwhelming increase of phone calls. So, and this time of year, it's gonna be that way. But keep these numbers in your phone. You just never know. Even though the 988 number is an easy one to remember, still keep the others in your phone. You just never know when they're going to be needed. Pay attention to what is going on with the people around you. So I found a quote that I thought was kind of appropriate, and I made it kind of fun. There is hope even when your brain tells you there isn't.
I like that. Because I think sometimes we forget.
We do, and our brains can be tricky, and they can play tricks on you. I'm reading a book, I can't remember what the name of it is right now, but it has a lot to do with that. And there is always hope, and that's what the show has been about from the very beginning. I've had to live it for the last 6.5 years, and so there is always hope.